Welcome to the Game Dev Stories stage. We've got another 20-minute fireside chat for you. And this one has slides and video as well. So I would like to welcome to the stage my guest, Justin Cathcart from Dark Slope. So please, a round of applause please for Justin. Thanks, everyone. Now, this is a very exciting talk we've got for you this afternoon. A little change of pace from the last one. We're going to be talking about virtual production. Now, game engines like Unreal and Unity, obviously, we're all familiar with them, but they're not just for building games. In fact, they're used in a lot of sectors, but they're quickly becoming important in the field of making film, TV, and commercials. And in fact, the best example of this, probably the poster child for this activity, is The Mandalorian, which of course was created on virtual sets. You'll be familiar from the volume that they create there. That's by no means the only example of virtual production, and we're going to be talking about that this afternoon with an expert. So I'd like to introduce Justin Cathcart. Now, Justin is head of virtual production at Dark Slope here in Toronto, and over the years he's worked as a virtual production supervisor for a large number of projects. I'm sure he'll say more, but they include shows on NBCU, CTV, CBC, and he's going to be giving us a sneak peek behind the curtain of working in virtual production with some examples on screen and talking a little bit about how it's relevant for 3D artists and other people working in the space. So, Justin, can you start us off? Can you give us a little overview on about LED virtual production and volume and how that all works?
Sure. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. I feel like I destroyed the Fireside chat part of this. So that's me on an LED volume. Pass through that. So let's talk about how virtual production, LED volume, virtual production works. I feel like this really illustrates it well. We'll just do kind of a very high level for those of you that already might have some, understanding here. So we have a physical stage and a giant LED screen. And effectively, the two really key components to this are, Unreal Engine or Unity, a gaming engine that is basically displaying a 3D environment that is being thrown up onto that LED screen. And then the camera is being motion tracked. So basically, as the camera is moving around, we get to see, the nice parallax, and it feels like we're actually in that volume. And I also feel like this is a great illustration. So when we're building these sets and doing like LED volume production, building practical sets and making sure that the actual environment that we're building matches, like these are like kind of the key elements that we, as we say, that sell it the best. So if you have like a practical set that's happening in front of the LED volume and it's like feels like the same environment, then you get this great kind of depth, and you really sell the scene that it's not a flat image on that LED screen. So yeah, that's it. Now you guys all know. You all know how to do it.
That's incredible. Just a quick question looking at that. I guess that the same computer control that controls the camera and the parallax also controls the lighting, for instance, so it's not casting a shadow onto the screen and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess another key element that I should mention is that in the tracking of that camera, that information is being sent to a VCam, like a virtual cam that we have in Unreal, and so basically, yeah, there's a frustum, which is essentially a fancy word for rectangle that's being thrown up on the screen. That's like where all the render nodes are really kind of putting all their compute power into. But yes, the VCam is a huge component of this. That's where the motion, motion capture data from the camera goes to.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it instantly makes me think of a few more questions. And I think if anyone here has questions about this, we'll make some time for that at the end. But let's just go ahead to sort of the development of this. The industry is pretty young. This is still a pretty young technique in the industry.
Yeah.
So can you maybe give us some insight into how the process has developed and how things have changed in recent years?
Sure. I'll throw up another slide, which is really not it's just a big flow chart. But it's a new burgeoning industry, and traditional filmmaking has been around for like 150 years. So there's some pain points that we're trying to get through because people that are in traditional filmmaking get upset when, I don't know if you've experienced Unreal crashing before. Has this happened to anybody here?
Does that happen?
So basically, SMPTE, which is a standards organization, traditionally, living in the motion picture and television world, they have taken the initiative to add some standardization to virtual production. So they created the On-Set Virtual Production Initiative. This is a flow chart that kind of gives us an idea as to the different elements of virtual production, and they're also really concentrating on standardizing things like metadata that's coming out of the camera, color science across all different parts of the color pipeline, and interoperability between all these parts that were really not built for film. They were essentially cobbled together from different a game engine was not built for film. It was built for developing games. So all these things will benefit greatly from having some standardization. And the other thing that SMPTE is, which I think is a great idea, is they're really all about education as well. And at Dark Slope, we also try to bring in producers and directors and try to give them, kind of what we're doing here, just kind of talk about what it's about and how you can use it as a tool in filmmaking.
That's great. And I can see on this slide, obviously, there's a lot of information to take in there. And there's a number of acronyms as well. I can see VAD, which I know we're going to come back to later. But there's other terms as well in the industry, like ICVX as well. Can you give us some insight into some of these terms, some of the key concepts?
Oh, my God. I have the perfect slide to talk about this.
It's almost like we prepared.
There's a bunch of virtual production terms that you might have heard of. Like I said, frustum is a term for fancy rectangle. But things that are terms that are starting to develop are, like you were saying, VAD, OSVP, which is like people generally were saying VP, and there's a confusion between, are you the vice president? What's happening? So on-set virtual production is OSVP, and we can kind of go through. Maybe we'll save this slide if there's Q&A, and you want to come back to this. ICVFX is really one of the key terms that you'll hear. Is just basically the whole purpose really of LED volume virtual production is getting it in camera. So ICVFX is getting the VFX in camera without the need for green screen and this post-production pipeline. And tech viz, pre-viz, lots of vizzes up there.
One of the other terms that you mentioned, and it says on your website, and that we've spoken about, is hyperreality.
Oh.
Now I know what I think hyperreality means, but can you talk us through what hyperreality means in this concept and how it feeds into virtual production?
Sure. Right? I mean, I might have fed you that line. Apologies to everybody. So hyperreality is really this further cobbling together, as virtual production is like a cobbling together of different kind of technologies. Hyperreality is kind of even going beyond that and bringing in kind of XR to the game, and haptics and all these other things that are not traditionally part of LED volume virtual production. So actually, I have a video. We've developed a few shows in this realm. One of them that I think probably speaks best to kind of the game developers here is a show called Speedrun that we did together with NBCU and Insight Productions, who kind of they do like Amazing Race and all the kind of reality shows here in Canada. So let's maybe look at the sizzle reel for that, and it'll give you an idea as to kind of what hyperreality is about.
Welcome to the Metaverse. This is the first competition reality series that combines virtual gameplay with real life. For the first time ever, players travel inside the game.
Tonight, we are breaking all competition barriers.
Welcome to Speedrun. Who will be the first speedrun warrior?
Prove to me and everyone else that I'm the best gamer in the world.
3 players compete in an intense battle that takes grit, determination, and skill in a race against time.
I'm feeling awesome. I'm ready for this.
I will dominate this course.
Players choose their own avatar.
My avatar represents a cooler, swaggier version of myself.
And He hits the teleporter.
Viewers at home attempt to anticipate a player's next move, jumping off their couches with each unexpected epic challenge. The motion capture suit transforms players into the first generation of ultimate virtual reality warriors.
Let's go!
Haptic technology simulates realistic physical sensations.
Oh, and he got hit by the Crystal Mason.
A groundbreaking series of limitless worlds and endless battles, but very real sweat and strategy. Watch each week as they compete to win the title of Ultimate Speedrun Warrior.
Wow. So that's
round of applause. Yeah, round of applause.
Thank you.
Incredible. And looking at that, you can see that so many different strands of what we do in creativity come together in one place, and different technologies come in place. You know, there's all the different parts of that. There's the virtual production and the game itself and the haptics and so on. I mean, there's a lot of work for game devs in creating that kind of content we've just seen, right?
Yeah. So that's like why I kind of wanted to show that to this crowd here, because really that show doesn't happen without a lot of active developers kind of creating that kind of VR environment. There was a lot of QA testing, with VR headsets. So it was a combination of the motion capture team plus there's just all these different departments. Our gaming department, our TV department, kind of melding into one. And in doing that game and showing it to other producers that are shooting on LED volumes as well, coming back to LED volume production, they see the opportunities potentially to supercharge their productions, where they're like, oh, it's interesting. So it's a gaming engine. We're tracking various things. Can we set up triggers? Can we are there things that we can gamify when we're shooting on LED volumes? So we also bring that as an opportunity for producers that are shooting on LED volume as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I want to come back to one of the terms that we saw earlier on. You mentioned,
Sure.
I said VAD, and then you said VAD.
Yes.
So VAD, virtual art.
Yes.
I'm gonna
you got it. That's the virtual art department. Basically, I feel like there's a laziness in naming that they're just like, we'll just throw virtual at the beginning because you're doing basically this job, so we'll just call it the virtual art department. But the key thing really for the virtual art department that's kind of been pushed to the forefront is these feedback loops that need to happen between the traditional art department, on productions that have had clunky beginnings. It's always because there's not enough dialogue there. So there's really needs to be an active dialogue between those two departments. There also needs to be potentially photogrammetry happening on set. If the set pieces are being built, they need to be scanned and put into engine. So there's just this feedback loop that needs to be constant. And then another key component for the VAD is to optimize these scenes so their performance on the LED screen. It's got to make sure that these scenes can get heavy sometimes if you just kind of throw the kitchen sink in there, and so you have to find that balance that's performant as well on the wall. And then these AI-driven pipelines are kind of I'm sure everybody has AI in their talk at some point in time.
We have to come up in every single talk. So.
Yeah, it's like a prereq. So I just got a invite to Kubrick, which is this new virtual production AI-driven stable diffusion environment creator. So these are starting to come into our world now. And then in the interim, digital backlots, which are just a fancy term for environment, a library of environments. All these things are kind of important in the VAD.
And actually, that's a good segue. Can you give us a bit of a sense of what a day on set looks like for people working in virtual production? Is it different from?
Yeah, well, one of the key roles on set is the volume operator. So traditionally, somebody that might be a 3D generalist can operate the Unreal Engine. Normally, it's Unity is in our world too, but I would say 98% of the time it's Unreal Engine. And so somebody that has the skills in order to kind of adjust things live based on feedback from the directors and camera crew. And yeah, the thing that basically everybody needs to have on set is the ability to kind of stay cool under pressure, because there are pressure moments, and like I might have mentioned before, Unreal tends to be a little crashy sometimes. So yeah, I work as a virtual production supervisor. There's also mocap techs. There's various roles that are on set. But yeah, really the key is being cool under pressure, whatever role you fill.
Great. Well, look, we've got about 5 minutes left, I think, by my reckoning, a little under perhaps, which means we've got some time for questions. If you're happy to take questions, yeah. So, do we have any questions for Justin about virtual production? And there's one over at the back here. I will run over with my mic so we can hear your question. Oh, there's one on the floor. There's one coming your way. There we go.
So when it comes to these types of jobs, like are they starting to pop up a lot more often now because of like how technology is evolving? And since if they are popping up a bit more often, where would somebody like try to find these types of jobs? Will they just like start appearing on the common job boards?
Yeah, I mean, probably the best method is to actually actively go to the people that you know that are doing production and just seeing what they have on their job boards. I haven't actively been looking, so I'm not 100%, but I know on our website, Pixamondo, others, they have job listings, specifically the roles that they're looking to fill. And I will say, to be candid, that the film and television production right now is like slowed down because of the we have a couple of strikes going on, so that's today might not be the best day, but come back in a couple of months, and there's a shortage. That's why SMPTE and others are like really focusing on education, because there's really a shortage of people that can fill these roles.
Great. Do we have any other questions? Oh, one in the front row. Hold on. I'll just bring my mic down. There we go.
So you made a comment early on about how this engine obviously isn't made for this kind of development, right? With Unreal 5 coming out last year, do you find that there's been more tools to make your life a little bit easier, and that's something that you're going to see becoming more and more regular?
Yeah, to Epic's credit, they've been really actively listening and really making great efforts to make it production ready. It's just such a complicated piece of software that it's still going to crash. But yes, things have been more stable since 5. Let's say after 5.0.3 then that one was a little buggy, but basically things have gotten improved, and we have a great relationship with Epic. They listen to us, and I see them. We literally had an Unreal Engine meetup last night, and lots of people from Epic were there with open ears and really not afraid to hear the pain points, and not necessarily defending their software. They're just like listening and be like, okay, we're going to take that and see if we can hopefully make it better for you in the future.
Great, thank you. Great question. We've got about 1 minute left. We've got time for another question, Chris? Yeah. Yeah, any more questions from the... there's one here in the... the chap's going to bring you a mic. Thank you. A question here. There we go. Thank you.
In the film industry, there is a lot of expanding and contracting of people, because you have a production on and you have another production on. Do you expect that this to be reflected in the virtual production as well? Say, hey, now I've got 3 projects running, and then I need to like expand the size of my my roster of people, and then contract it again. Do you expect that is going to be something? Yeah,
and talking to people in the industry, they've also said to me that they're changing their paradigm. They had people that were permanently on staff, and so in talking to other people that are running crews focused on virtual production, they have explicitly said that they're going to make it a contract job. So it's like basically like hiring other crew on film, where basically they crew up for the production, and then once the production's kind of done, then they're gonna kind of let you find employment elsewhere. But yeah, when things scale up, there's an immediate need for those people, and looks like the direction that we're going.
Fantastic.
I think we'll have to end it there. because we got to time. But thank you so much. Big round of
Thank
applause,
you.
please. That was. Well,